practical, as I say. There's no much of a theory about it. Of course, there's some hacks and there are some specific considerations I want you to apprehend, but nevertheless, it's going to be more practical. Okay, so but this class we're going to dedicate it completely to theory. We're going to see the entire theory behind this section, underline it. We're going to also apprehend and learn how to specifically approach one of the tasks that you're going to find in this section, and therefore you're going to be ready to ace it. Okay, so let's begin. I'm going to share my screen with you, and you're going to be able to see the presentation I have for you. All right, wonderful. So let's see. The TOEFL speaking section. Okay, so let's begin. I have some general aspects for you, okay, before we get into the real and very serious stuff. So the speaking section is designed to measure your ability to speak English effectively in academic settings. This is composed of 4 tasks that resemble real-life situations you might encounter both in and outside of a classroom. You have 2 types of questions, okay? Generally, they can be divided in just 2 categories, okay? First of all, you're going to have an independent speaking task, which is the one that we're going to get more deeply into this class. And it is called basically independent speaking task because it requires you to draw entirely on your ideas, opinions, and experiences when you respond. And actually, this is going to be very helpful and advantageous for you to learn, because when we get into the writing section, it's going to happen that you're going to have also the chance and the necessity to express your opinion in one of the tasks that you're going to find in that section. But well, for this class, let's just concentrate on this specific type of task, the independent speaking task, because as you can see, it is going to require you to draw entirely on your own ideas, opinions, and experiences when you are responding. Okay. Good evening to the rest of the students who are getting into. We are right now into the speaking section. We're beginning with this new section, which is super practical, but there is also some theory for you to know before we get into the practical stuff. Okay, so I am talking about the general aspects here. This is going to be comprehended of 4 different tasks. First of all, you're going to have an independent task, which is going to require you to respond to a question and a statement. And you're going to basically rely on your own knowledge, opinion, and experience in order to respond, okay? And the questions 2 to 4 are called integrated speaking tasks. Why, you may ask? Because they require you to combine your English language skills just as you would in or out of a classroom. In this sense, when you are from the 2nd to the 4th task, you're going to receive first of all, and a statement that is going to be, something in order to read. It's going to be a passage sometimes. As I say, sometimes it's going to be a statement too. And later you're going to receive an extra material related to that reading passage or to that statement, which is going to be, as I say, somehow connected to that statement. And you're going to have the chance and the necessity to deliver a response, somehow expressing the relationship of that specific written passage with the whether it is a lecture or a conversation, but it's going to be an audio material. Okay, so that is going to be the case for the integrated speaking tasks. Well, we're gonna get into those specific tasks next class. Okay, but well, finally, to respond, you will speak into the microphone. As you can see here on my screen, you're going to receive a couple of headphones with a microphone integrated and incorporated into the headphones, and your responses are going to be recorded and sent to ETS, where they are going to be scored by a combination of artificial intelligence and also certified human raters in order to ensure fairness and quality, of course. Okay, so this is very important for you to think about, actually, because if you remind, of course, when you are talking to a human person, that person is going to value if you talk with intonation, if you use some sort of speaking device, like, for example, pauses, the way that he pronounces. I mean, as we are humans, we are persons, we value that very much, right? When we are listening to somebody that the person is not super, plain speaking like, I mean, that doesn't work, right? You want to have expression, emotion when you're speaking. So given that somebody who is a human is going to listen to what you say, you should definitely try to be somebody who is always very much expressive, trying to use intonations, trying to use pauses, things of that sort. Okay, so just in case you have not thought about it, please try to think about this, that there's going to be somebody reviewing your audios, okay, your recordings. Okay, so remind, this section is going to be comprehended of 4 different tasks. The first one is going to be an independent task, in which they're going to ask you a question, in which you're going to have the necessity to choose a position, and in order to respond to that question, you're going to use your own ideas, your own opinion, your own information. And in the other ones, the integrated speaking tasks, you're going to have the opportunity to receive material. First of all, a reading material, later a listening material, and you're going to deliver and answer a response with regard to the connection you can see between those different materials. Okay, so that is basically what we have said until this point. Okay, to the students that just got into the class. Okay, so this is the speaking section, and we're going to get into some specific concepts I have for you in order to nail this speaking section. Okay, first of all, I want to talk about this topic: how to manage the headphones. Okay, for this section, your best ally is going to be the headphones. Okay, this is very interesting. The ones you're going to receive will be the traditional headphones with a microphone included. For example, if you look at this picture, this is going to be more or less what you're going to receive on that day. I have had the opportunity to take this exam twice, as many of you know. And in the different test centers that I have taken this test into, they have always offered me this type of device. They have always offered me this specific type of headphones. Okay, so as you can see, these are super traditional headphones. You have the ear holders, you have the microphone within the stick here, and the microphone at the end or at the top of that stick. So familiarize with it, try to get acquainted with it. Okay, so first thing to make sure when you begin the section is to put them on correctly, to put the headphones correctly. Okay, and to get the microphone near your mouth with the due space for you to speak. Why do I say this? Because, well, of course, you're going to have the stick here, and you're going to be able to adjust it to the distance you want to have the microphone separated to your mouth, right? So what is going to happen is that if you put the microphone too near your mouth, maybe some of the noises that you're going to provoke with your mouth are just going to disturb the person who is reviewing your response, right? Who's listening to what you're saying. So what you have to do is always try to keep a safe space in order for you to speak clearly, to be comfortable while speaking, but also a considerable and balanced distance, so that the speaker is going to be able to listen to whatever you say, but without the different noises that sometimes our mouth does, right? Because, well, that's what happens with the mouth, that we make some noises, right? And we want to avoid our reviewer to be annoyed by them. Okay, so try to always keep a good distance, wherever you feel comfortable, but also whatever you know is going to be able, or it's going to help, it's going to make you able or enable you to speak fluently and without those noises. Okay, so the headphones will additionally be adaptable to your head size, very important. So make sure to adjust them in a manner proper for you to have them near your mouth, but firm in your head too. If you look at the picture again, here in this part, in the holders near to the ears, there are going to be some it's a mechanism that allows you to pull it up, like to separate this this stick or this support here, and you're going to be able to elevate it and to diminish the size as well, depending on your head size, right? So depending on your head size, you want to have it firm on your head. Because if you don't have the firm, maybe it's gonna happen. You're gonna make some sort of abrupt movement, something like this. I don't know if you want to touch your ear or something like that, and maybe you're gonna move the headphones, right? And that is always going to be destructive, because it is going to deconcentrate you, and it's going to harm you when you want to respond clearly and effectively, right? So always try to have it firm on your head, but also having the precaution of having the microphone not very much separated from your mouth, but also with an adequate distance for you to speak and to have it recorded. Okay, that is what I wanted to tell you. Also, as we continue with the pandemic, dear students, it is very plausible that the test centers, if you're taking the IBT version, of course, are still going to require you to wear a mask even for this section. As many of you know, in this, well, because of this pandemic, the ETS company has required all the different test centers around the world to require their test takers to wear masks during the entire test. And actually, for the speaking section, it's not going to be an exception. Because, well, you're going to be required to have your mask on while you are talking to the microphone, while you are speaking. You are still going to be required to keep your mask on you. Okay, so always try to make sure that the mask you're going to wear on that day is comfortable for you to move your mouth and speak. I want to share a little bit of my experience with you. The first time I took the exam in 2020, it happened to me that I used one of these simple masks, like the ones that the doctors use in order to operate their patients, stuff like that. You know, these very simple masks. It happened to me that I had some troubles with it because it's too nearby my mouth, and it happens that when you have something so near your mouth, it doesn't allow you to move your mouth correctly. And you know that, especially in English, it's like you have to move your mouth a lot in order to get the correct pronunciation, because you know it's a very expressive language. And if you don't have a mask that allows you to move your mouth, that is going to, of course, harm you a lot, because it's not going to allow you to speak fluently, right? And with all the comfort and with all the facility you want to. So my recommendation in this case would be to wear one of these type of masks. You know, this type of masks, which are a little bit different, but these masks allow you to have a space, right, between your mouth and between the mask itself. And that space allows you, I think, to move your mouth, because the second time I took this TOEFL exam, I wore one of this, the masks. And because I used one of these masks, I think I got a more flexibility. I had more facility to speak, and well, I obviously performed way better than before. But of course, it's up to you. It's a matter of subjective preference. If you believe that you're going to be more comfortable with other masks, well, wear it. It's okay. But always try to make sure that the mask you're wearing is going to allow you to move your mouth correctly. Okay. Also, number 4, you're not going to be allowed to have a water bottle with you in your test room. Okay, very important. Make sure to drink enough water and to hydrate your throat appropriately. That is also very important. You know, if you remind, this section, the speaking section, is going to be the one that comes just after the 10 minutes break. And given that you have, gone through your 10 minutes break, it is supposed that you have drunk enough water at that time, right? And once you get into the room, the computer room again, the staff person is not going to like hand you over another water bottle if you feel your throat a little bit dry or something like that. No, they're not going to make that exception with you, because that will be favoring you, right? Among the different test takers that they're in the room are taking their exam too. So it would be preferable for you to take your precautions in that. Try to always to drink enough water, to be hydrated, and to have your throat appropriately working in order for you to avoid any type of complication. Okay, so please keep these things in mind. Is there any question with regard to the management of the headphones, with regard to devices, and with regard to the equipment you may need on this section? Any question about this? I want to listen to you. Some sort of question about this in particular? Maybe some of you? Or is it clear? All right. Okay, I guess it's clear then. We're going to continue. So I have some quick hacks for this section too. Okay, I want to share a little bit of my experience and some things that I have comprehended and apprehended actually through experience. Okay, so as this will be the section you'll have just after your 10 minutes break, try to be the last person to get into the room and the last to start a section. I explain. So remind that you have this 10 minutes break, right? So this 10 minutes break are available to you in order for you to go to the bathroom, in order for you to drink water, to eat some meal. Maybe you have prepared whatever you have in your bag, right? The one that you are taking to to your test center, and of course they're going to require you to leave that out when you are entering to the room. But when you get out, in order to go to this 10 minutes break, you're going to be able to have access to your, well, to everything you have brought with you, your bag, whatever you have brought. And if you have some meal, you can eat it, right? Of course. But nevertheless, listen to me. This 10 minutes break, it happens that usually it happens that most test takers, when they go to their 10 minutes break, they just use like half of this 10 minutes, or maybe I would say that some of the test takers just use a matter of 3 minutes. I mean, they go to the bathroom and they come back immediately. I don't know why they do that, honestly. I guess it's because they want to finish the exam quickly. Maybe they are so tired, they are so stressed out, and they want to, I don't know, to finish quickly and to return their homes, right? Great. But nevertheless, you have to be more clever, okay? You have to be rational in this case. And given that you can use I mean, all the 10 minutes, given that you can make use of the entire time, what you can do is to utilize this 10 minutes completely and be the last person to get into the room. Why? Because, I mean, it is not a secret, of course. I think everybody in this class and every single one of you know that when you are taking this IBT version of the TOEFL exam, you're going to have at least, I don't know, 5 or 6 test takers that are also going to be sharing that room with you. And when you get into this section, you're going to have to face and to confront the trouble of having a lot of people talking loudly and speaking loudly because they want their recording to sound correctly. They want their recording to be audible to the person who is going to review their responses, right? That is natural. And you, of course, have to speak loudly too, right? I mean, I think there's no reason to mention that you have to speak loudly. So even though there's going to be people speaking loudly, you have to make sure not to get deconcentrated by them. But maybe because they are speaking loudly and at the same time that you are speaking to and delivering a response, something that you can do in order to be the one annoying them and not to be the one annoyed by them is, as I say, to get into your room as the last person getting into. Because when you get into the room, if you have used your entire 10 minutes, most of the test takers will be like in their third question or in their last question, because there are 4 tasks or 4 questions in the section. This is a very, very short section, by the way, because it lasts no more than 15 minutes, okay? So it's going to happen that if you are the last person to get into, given that the other people are going to begin already, you're going to have the chance to be starting this section way after them. And given that this is going to be the case, it's going to happen that you're going to be the person annoying them. And once they finish, you're going to be like the last person speaking, and there's not going to be another person speaking at the same time than you. So try to do that. Like try to get to be the last person to get into the room, and also try to be the last person to press the start button, because once you enter the room, you have some minutes available for you to wait until you decide to press the continue button to start. Because once you sit down, like before your computer, once you return from the break, there is going to be a message on your computer that says something like proceed to the next section or continue to the speaking section. And if you don't press that button, it is not going to begin. I mean, your section is not going to start. Of course, there's a limit, right? But there is also some extra time for you to breathe, for you to concentrate, whatever. So if you don't press the button that says proceed or to continue, your first task is not going to appear on your screen. So you actually make use of that extra time in order to try to listen what other people and what the other test takers are saying, because all these questions are going to be exactly the same for you than for them, in the sense that their first question, the one that they are already responding, the one that they are already delivering, is exactly the same question that you are delivering to, or that you're going to deliver to. So, for example, it happened to me that when I took my second TOEFL exam last year, I reminded it was the last person to get into my room, and it was the last person to press this start button. So I had the chance to listen to what the other test takers were saying in their responses. And I reminded that I listened to one test taker talking about something related to vacations. Of course, I didn't know what was the specific question because I had not begun with my section yet. But nevertheless, I thought, well, if that person is talking about vacations, what could the question be about? I imagined I began to think in my on my within my head, and I thought, well, maybe the question is something related to where would I like to spend a vacation? Where would I like to be with somebody if it were the case that he is inviting me to go on a vacation with him or with her? Or maybe it would be something like where or how much money do I consider to be appropriate to spend when you are going to vacation, something like that. I began to imagine by myself, what could they ask me about? And it happened that when I got into the actual task, when I pressed my button of start, the question was just what it was, just what I had imagined. It was something like related to where would I like to spend a holiday vacation with my partner, whatever like that. I mean, it was something very interesting because I had extra time to think to meditate what type of response I would give and deliver for any case. And you can definitely do the same as well. And if you think about it, everything I'm mentioning to you right now, it's legal. It's completely legal. You can do this. It's just to be clever. Okay, so try to take all these hacks into consideration. This is going to help you a lot in this section. Is there any question about this or everything I have mentioned until this point? Any concern? Maybe you want me to repeat something in Spanish? I don't know. Or is it good? It is fine.
I have a question, teacher.
Yeah, for sure.
For example, if I answer in the TOEFL exam 10 questions incorrect, there are points against or like minus at the final in the total.
I mean, you mean not for this section, but like for the reading section or for the listening section?
Yes, for reading section or listening. If I, especially in the reading section, for example, if I answer incorrectly, I want to know if there are points against in the exam.
All right, yes. I see. So you want to know whether that is going to affect negatively your score, right? Yes. Okay. So I mean, of course, it is going to affect negatively your score if you're, for example, imagine that you're in the reading section, right? If you remind, I mean, I'm not sure if we have already had that class with you with your group, but if we have not, when we come to the reading section, it happens that in the reading section there are 10 questions per passage. And given that, for example, if you respond 8 questions correctly, and you just fail like in 2 or 3 of them for every single passage, in my experience, it happens that you're going to have like a score of 26 and above. If you fail like in 5, like you make the half of the responses correctly, and the other ones you fail into, you're going to have like, I don't know, like a 20 or 15, something like that. But yes, of course, the negative, or I mean the wrong answers negatively affect your score. So you have to consider that, of course, to when you're responding, trying to always come up with the correct response. And that is actually helpful when you think about, for example, if you don't know the correct response, let's say for the reading section about a specific question, if you don't know the answer or if you're not sure about the answer, you anyways would like to, I mean, you should anyways respond to the question, because it happens that if you respond positively to the question, that's going to be great. But if you don't respond, I mean, correctly to the question, that is, of course, going to negatively affect you. But nevertheless, it's going to, if you don't respond, the question is always going to be regarded as incorrect, all right? So what I recommend you to do is always to respond to every single question. And at the end, it's going to, of course, there is going to be like an average. They have their formula, and they are going to punctuate with regard to that. But as far as I know, like the calculation I have done with my own experience is that if you fail like just in 3 questions per every single passage in the reading section, taking it as an example, you anyways get a very good score, like 26, 27 and above. But I'm not sure what will be the spectrum for more fails and less correct answers. I hope that responds to your question. Is it clear? Or
Yes.
okay, wonderful. Carlos, you have another question. Please continue.
Yes, teacher. You said that, for example, that we're going to have an extra time in order to think or to press the initiate button, right?
Yep.
But what if we exceed the time, or what if we press the button after the limit time?
Okay. Great. Great question, Carlos, and thank you. So that will never be the case, because if you exceed your time, if you go like out of the time, it is going to proceed automatically. Like it is going to move on directly to the first task automatically. I don't remind how much time exactly you have, because I think it varies depending on the test center, but nevertheless, it's something like 5 or 6 minutes. You have, I remind that, I mean, on my memory, it happens. I conceptualize that like 5 to 6 minutes. And if you don't press the continue button, it's going to proceed automatically. So it's never going to be the case that, for example, you have not pressed and therefore you are in trouble and you're not going to be able to respond, but it's always going to continue automatically. Maybe you want to do that. I'm not sure. It's up to you. But as I say, it's, I think, appropriate and more convenient to be the last person always respond in this section, because that way you're going to annoy other persons, but you're not going to be annoyed one, and that's better, right?
Yeah, so it's better to not press.
Yeah, I mean, of course. I mean, I don't remind. I mean, I think I pressed it because I had like 2 more extra minutes, and I did not want to use them because I was just, I mean, I wanted to continue. I mean, I listened to what the other people were talking about. I listened to what the other test takers were saying and delivering in their responses. And once I got a very good panorama, I decided, well, I'm not going to continue because I don't want to be here sitting the entire day. And I mean, I want to continue, right? So, of course, I mean, it depends on you. It's up to you. But nevertheless, I think it's appropriate to use and to spend this time cleverly, in the sense of always waiting until the last moment. Okay, awesome. So let's continue then after we have had those very, very fruitful discussions. Okay, so now we have the different tasks you will find on this section. Okay, so let's see. Today we're going to go deeply into the first task. This is the one that we're going to examine today, all the theory and the things I want you to know. Okay, so let's see. We have here the TOEFL speaking section task number 1. That is to say, the speaking task, the independent speaking task. Okay, so in your first task, you will be required to say your opinion on a general topic, and you will have to defend and sustain it. You will have little time to finish the task, which breaks down to the following. You're going to have 15 seconds to prepare your response after you have read the statement or the material they present to you, for you to take a position with regard to that material and statement in a specific. And you're going to have 4 or 5 seconds to deliver your response. Okay. This is a very, very short time. Take it into consideration. You're not going to be able to have a second chance. I mean, once you press the button to record, and once it begins to record, you're not going to be able to have a second chance to advantage of the 4 or 5 seconds, and you have to learn and to apprehend how to organize them efficiently. That is to say, and to what point to speak about this and this, but we're going to get into that. Don't worry, okay? So as you can see here, I decided to put here a picture of this very famous character. I don't know how many of you are familiar with him, how many of you have acquainted a little bit with him. I don't know. In the last year, this person has been very, in the last years, this person has been very popular. It's Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro, it's a political commentator, American, and he is a very famous person because he is said to be one of the best debaters in the world. You know what a debate is, right? A debate is a platform or a space in which you have a position, you have an opinion about any topic, and what you do is basically express your opinion, express your position, and you always try to defend it, to present arguments, to present evidence in order to somehow defend, sustain, support your claim, and to show others that your opinion is right. Okay. So in this case, I have decided to put the picture of this man here because I want you to imitate him with regard to one of his characteristics. I mean, maybe you don't agree with his political views. It's not about that. We're not talking about politics here. Excuse me, we're not talking about politics here. We're talking about how this person here is very, very capable of being secure of his position and defending his position. You have to imagine, you have to remind that in this particular section, you want to be like Ben Shapiro in the sense that you have to come out with a position and you have to defend it. You have to defend it with everything you want, and you have to be very secure. You must not be hesitating. You must not be doubting about what you are saying. You must be very secure, and you must always try to defend your position. It is not just about saying what you think and that's it. You have to be able to offer some sort of justification, okay? Because this is something that happens every single time in a university setting. There are a lot of debates, and ETS and the people who are going to review your application if you're applying to a university try to identify this task.
I thought it was only me.
Hello, I came back. I'm sorry.
My internet.
I'm sorry. I got some connection troubles. I'm so sorry for it. Actually, I actually want to improve my like, I don't know, the plan I'm playing for the internet. I definitely have to do it, okay? Because right now there are some visitors here in my house, and that's the reason why I got these troubles, okay? So I'm sorry. But continuing them, I was saying that you should think about this specific task as if you were Ben Shapiro, okay? As if you were Ben Shapiro, very important, all right? Any question? Maybe you didn't listen correctly to something I said about this. Any question about this? Or is it clear? All right, awesome. So now, of course, I want you to practice. I want you to, I'm gonna stop sharing, I'm gonna share again. I want you to have a very good glance at how these questions and how this particular task is going to look like on the actual test. So let's go right now to an example. Actually, I have two examples for you. I have two examples of how this question will look like. And we are going to examine it, and later I'm going to give you, well, I actually prepared and recorded some responses by myself about the topics and the statements that you're going to read right now. And I'm going to show you how to respond appropriately to this specific task, okay? So let's see, first of all. So what you're going to receive, what you're going to have on your screen in the exact moment in which you are taking the real exam, it's going to be something like this. It's going to be a statement, okay? Super short. Look at this, what I have here. It's going to be a statement. It's going to be short, and there's always going to be a person, like an instructor, speaking loudly. I mean, obviously to your headphones, and explaining to you what you have to do. And also, he's going to read this transcript or this statement. Okay, so it's going to be something like this. Listen.
Some people believe that raising children is the most beautiful thing a person can do for society. Others are of the opinion that a person's career is their most important task in life. Which opinion do you find more persuasive? Explain why.
Beautiful. So as you can see, there is a person speaking, reading this statement. And listen to this. If you are able to read this statement more quickly, more rapidly than the person who is speaking and reading this loudly to your headphones, you're going to have extra seconds to get into your preparation for your response, right? So if you're able to read this more quickly, great. You're going to begin to write down your response quickly. By the way, for this section, you're also going to be allowed to have a piece of paper. As I said, you are allowed to ask for this specific material to the people who are in charge of the exam itself, that is to the staff members. You just require them a piece of paper, pencils, pens, and they're going to hand them over to you, okay? So you're going to have, of course, your piece of paper, and you are going to be able to begin to prepare your response on that paper, okay? But now listen to one of the responses I recorded for this specific test, for this specific statement, excuse me, and listen to how should your response be more or less elaborated, and how should you structure it, okay? So listen to what I prepared for you. I'm gonna come back to my presentation because I have here another link, and this actually drives us to the first task. And in this first task, and this first audio that I have here, it's basically my response. I try to elaborate it as well in the 45 seconds, and you're gonna be able to listen to what I responded, okay? So listen to how I responded to this particular statement, the one that we just read. Okay, so listen.
Okay, with regard to the topic, I believe that a person's career is the most important task in life. I believe this way because of the following reasons. First of all, children are not necessarily a positive addition to the world. Maybe they turn out to be criminals. For example, I had an uncle who had a child that got into drugs and began stealing things. Secondly, if you're really good at your profession, you can come off with a revolutionary idea to positively affect people's life. As I want, for example, to be able to enact a law to allow people to create enterprises with very low taxes to improve their quality of life.
All right, awesome. So as you can see here, basically I had that specific response for the statement we were proposed just a few moments ago. And now I want to show you, first of all, some recommendations I have for you before I get into the structure you should follow in order to respond to this type of question, okay? So I have some general recommendations for you. There is no right or wrong position to choose in this task, okay? I want to be super clear about that. When you must decide what position to take on every statement, you may want to think which side you can defend more easily. Maybe that is not your actual position on the topic, but if you know that you can come up with arguments for that side more rapidly, you should prefer it. Okay, here I think ethics and stuff like that are not really into consideration because they are not requiring you to speak the truth. They're requiring you to speak something to make it elaborate and to make it understandable and convincing, okay? So, for example, imagine that the question is abortion, and you believe abortion is wrong. But nevertheless, you believe that abortion is, like a pro-choice position, it's more defendable, or maybe you believe that it is it is more easy to come up with arguments in order to support that position. Then you should go and take that position, of course, because as I say, what you want here in this case is not to portray your actual belief or what you believe is the truth, but to be efficient in your response and to come up with good arguments, with good ideas, as I try to do in my response, okay? So once you have chosen, I have to clarify this. Once you have chosen a position, have begun to deliver your response, you must treat your position as the correct one, okay? So there's a difference. Before you choose your position, there is no right or wrong answer. Nevertheless, once you have chosen a position and opinion, you have to consider and to treat your choice as the correct one, and the other one is completely erroneous. It's not advisable, it's not good if you, for example, respond saying, well, I believe the other option was also good. I believe that the other actually was better than mine, but nevertheless, I'm going to talk about this. No, you have to treat the other one as the erroneous, as the wrong one, and try to convince others that the one you have chosen is the correct one. Okay, so there's no right or wrong answer when you are choosing your response. But once you have chosen, your response is the correct one. So you must not express any hesitation to your reviewer that you are actually deciding the correct answer. Avoid all type of phrases like, for example, maybe, or I guess, or probably. Always speak in an indicative mood, like that is to say, affirming, saying this is the case. Affirm, speak with security, convince your reviewer that your choice is the correct one. Okay, here you want to be super secure of yourself. You want to make sure that you are firm in things, that you are convincing. Because remind, you have to be like Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro would never say something like "I guess" or something like "I'm not sure." No, I mean he is secure what he's saying. He's trying to convince other people. Okay, so you have to remind that you want to be like him. So always try to avoid any type of expression like conveying insecurity or that you're hesitating. Okay, you are trying to defend your position and you have to be secure of it. Okay, so any question about that? Maybe you have some sort of concern about this, or is it clear? Okay. So now another thing I follow in order to respond to the example I just gave you. If you remind, I began with my position, and I began by saying, with regard to the topic, that is what I said, right? Prefacing my response, I said, well, with regard to the topic, I consider this is the case. And I said, well, I consider that a person's career is actually the most important task for one person. Okay, right? So I use this as an introduction. You can use this, or you can come up with a very similar phrase as an introduction with regard to the topic, and you state your position. That is what you have to do, the first thing. Okay, so this is your introduction. With regard to the topic, you say it, you state your position, and you move on. You have to say, or you have to throw out a phrase connecting your introduction or your position with your arguments. If you remind, I said something like, because of the following reasons. I believe this way because of the following reasons, I said. And that is what actually you should say too. You should look for your own. Okay, I'm so sorry. The visitors are messing my internet up. Okay, I'm so sorry. Okay, so I'm going to stop transmitting in YouTube, I think, because I guess that is